Hello, in today's module we were asked to demonstrate one language building activity for a specific skill for language development. And that skill that I chose was vocabulary. And the activity that I chose to describe was Telephone Pictionary. And I was able to find this game through the edutopia.org website, which lists 5 vocabulary games that can be played for students. And the game that I picked was Telephone Pictionary, as I just said. And I'm gonna go over a quick background of the game. For this game, it'll take 20 to 30 minutes, depending on how many vocabulary terms you use. And then students will be asked to work in small groups during this activity. In this activity, they will sketch photos of the vocabulary words, and then the other students in their group will be asked to identify what vocabulary word is being used. So now I'll go over the demonstration of how I will present this activity to the class. So I will start by going over what I expect this activity to do. So I'll start by, today guys, for our activity we'll be doing in terms of vocabulary, we're gonna be playing a game. The game is called Telephone Pictionary. Have any of you guys ever played Pictionary before, where there's been a picture and then you were supposed to say what that picture was? If not, I will go over a little background of how to play this game. So Telephone Pictionary is a game where you'll have a list of the vocabulary words that we have been practicing, or new vocabulary words that I'm introducing to the class. Today our vocabulary words will consist of shapes and colors. So not shapes and colors, shapes and animals. So there's a list of 5 shapes and a list of 5 animals. Together as a class, we're going to do the shapes vocabulary words. So I will draw a picture of a shape, and then I'll give all you guys about half a minute to think of what vocabulary word that is, according to the list that I'll be passing out. And so I'll pass out the list, and then we'll do the shapes activity together, and then they will do the animal activity together, which has a longer list. It's not just 5, it has 10, so it'll give them time to play the game and become interactive with the other students in the class. So I'll start by, the first word is a triangle. So on the whiteboard or chalkboard in the front of the class, I will draw a triangle, and then I'll allow students half a minute, like I said, to come with what vocabulary word they think it is, and then I will call on 2 or 3 students, see what their answer was, and then see if the rest of the class agrees. And then I'll move on to square, circle, rectangle, oval, etc. What shapes are provided on the list. And then after students are done with that list, I will allow students to work in groups to do the list of the dogs, cats, hamsters, rabbits, pigs, cows, horses, etc. And then after all students are done, we'll come back and we'll do a quick overview of what the students discovered. I'll have the pictures already up on the board, and then I'll call on a student, or just have the whole class answer what they believe that vocabulary word is. And then to go along with that, with the assessment part of this activity, I will have either the next day or following day, I'll have the same list of those vocabulary words that we all did as a class, and once the students did with their groups, and then I'll have those 10-15 pictures on the test sheet, and I'll have a word bank of the vocabulary words, and then I'll have students about a half hour, 20 minutes, half hour to complete the quiz, test, exam, whatever you want to call it. And then they can, once they're done, they turn that in, and then this will allow me to identify how the students are developing in terms of their vocabulary of language development. Next, I'll go over the questions that are to be answered in part of the demonstration of the activity. The second question is, how can the material be utilized for children of diverse culture, language, and ability levels? And then how could you change it, and so these students can still engage and participate in the activity? I would think if students of different learning abilities were in the class in terms of vocabulary and language development, I would hopefully be able to identify that beforehand and have them in a separate group so they stay engaged and participate, so they are not felt left out from the group that they are in. And then this would also allow me to help them in an individual group setting to hopefully get them to better understand the vocabulary terms that are being presented. And then, how does this activity align with the best practices described in our course material or other scholarly resources? And then, according to the text, we can use this is using code-related skills, because the use of the pictures will help the students be able to identify what vocabulary words are being used. And then this is using and according to the text, code-related skills are core in recognizing letters, words to understand the text. So having the code of the pictures should help in return for the students being able to better understand their vocabulary words. So, and then in return, hopefully they can identify or know these vocabulary words without seeing the picture if the code related skills are developed correctly. And I already went over the question 4, what a teacher might learn about child's development in language by observing this material. And it asks you to think about assessment, and I would provide students with an assessment of a word bank of the vocabulary words. And going back to topic number 2, how could this be utilized with students of a diverse culture and language? If students struggle with learning English, I would provide them a list of the vocabulary words in their language with also the list of the English language, so hopefully they can make the connection between their previous language that they learned to the English language, so that they can better understand the vocabulary words in the English language, which ultimately is the goal of this lesson. To recap on the lesson and give it like a broad perspective, so I chose the Telephone Pictionary game. It allows students to create pictures to identify vocabulary words, and if students struggle with learning the English language or have a secondary language that was previous to theirs, I'll provide students with a list of those activities. If students had a learning disability in the classroom or was at a different rate, I would assign them to a separate group, and then I would work with that group individually to allow them to identify their vocabulary words while using this material. And then after the material was done, we finished, the next day or two, I'd provide the students with a smaller test, providing those vocabulary words and the pictures, and then have students assign their vocabulary words to the correct picture to see if the material accurately and enabled students to develop their language skills in terms of vocabulary.